Hello, welcome back everyone. You're watching Sky News Breakfast, and I'm pleased to say joining us to review the papers are Chief Executive of International Marketing Partners, it's Alison Stewart-Allen, and journalist and author Janelle Aldridge. Thank you so much for joining us back here in the studio. It's always lovely to have company, I have to say. Let's start with the Times, Alison, because it's a brand that I knew very well growing up in my teen years, The Body Shop.
Yeah.
Are they going to scrub up well then?
Well, this is a brand that was at the forefront of what we now know as ESG. They were a brand with points of view about the environment, no animal testing.
That's why I liked it as a teenager.
Absolutely.
Like, we're saving the planet.
Absolutely. And after the death of Anita Roddick, one of the co-founders, her and her husband, set up the business, it ended up in the hands eventually of L'Oreal. And L'Oreal,
Who buy everything.
They owned so many brands, it's amazing. And L'Oreal tried to make a go of this brand internationally, sort of lost their way, didn't give it the attention and the money it needed, and they sold it to a Brazilian company called Natura.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Natura have now just sold it to a private equity firm called Aurelius. So what's interesting is that in 2017, the company Natura bought the brand for 877 million pounds, quite a big number. Today, now in the sale from Natura to this Aurelius, the sale price is 207 million.
Well, you'll
So
know
in
this,
6
won't you?
years.
It's not great, is it? If
It's
you're being
terrible.
bought up by company from company, the brand then, Alison, isn't clear, is it?
It's not clear. And the problem is brands are all about trust. And if you have this amount of volatility and tumult in ownership, in investment, in creating a brand, in getting followers and fans, and it's sold and chop and changes direction, it's undermining the business. And it's a really sad situation, really, because it's such a, it was and maybe still is to some degree, ahead of the curve in so many ways.
And the fact that someone could save up pocket money from a young age and go in and buy an item and feel special, that's important
Absolutely,
too, isn't it?
absolutely.
And as you say, trust is all important, and that's the theme of some of our stories that we're picking up, isn't it, Janelle? Because in the Sunday Mirror, Lord Cameron, as we saw earlier this week, back in government, and now there's an issue here, according to the Sunday Mirror, about his dealings with China and how those potential conflicts of interest should have been discussed.
I mean, it was a massive surprise to most people that it came back. And I mean, I was doing something else and someone said, David Cameron's back in the government. And I was like, what? Turn on Sky. Let's see what's going on.
Very good move.
But very good move, very informed. But the interesting thing is when you do bring somebody back, like now Lord Cameron, he comes with a lot of baggage. And the thing about when people leave politics, as he did, they go on to do their other interests. And those other interests, there was already the thing around the campaigning around COVID with the company he was part of. And so what people are now asking is, what are your links? Because of the way he's back, Downing Street have said he doesn't have to really speak about the business that he's been doing, that he's no longer doing in this interim period. But I think most people will want to be informed, as he is Foreign Secretary. So this is talking about international, deals and trade. So actually, he was the vice chairman of a £1 billion China-UK investment fund, which then actually never got off the ground.
Right.
So he will have links in all kinds of places, and I think it's only right, actually, if in Rishi Sunak's turned page, new transparent government, as one of the things that he said he was going to do when he came into power, is that actually it would be good for David Cameron to let us know about these special interests, even if he's recently put them down. Because as we know, the way that lots of business is done is through relationships. So what are his relationships? Where are they? How deep do they go? And how much has he been paid? And I think, although it's an interim thing, now that he's back in power, I think it's in the public interest that we do understand about what he's been doing in the time since he left power. Look, if he didn't come back, we wouldn't be asking these questions.
Indeed.
But he is back, so I think he has to, be scrutinised.
Yeah, a spokesman for Lord Cameron says that some of the engagements in China were limited to a number of speaking events. So we shall see if we get more information on that and where it goes. The other story that you picked out, Alison, this is Telegraph, page 27, so it's tucked right in here, but it's a really important one, isn't it? Because it's all about Meta and their safeguarding on apps
Instagram.
like Instagram, which
Absolutely.
is very, very popular with young people.
Absolutely. And this, again, is still a theme about trust.
Yes.
So this is a whistleblower, an executive that used to work for Meta, Arturo Bejar. And a bit like Frances Haugen, the American whistleblower, who came over here as well as in front of Congress to let them know about the harm of social media platforms and specifically Meta's platforms. He did some research before leaving Meta and wrote to Mark Zuckerberg explicitly saying, do you appreciate the amount of harm and unwanted approaches on Instagram of teenagers in a given week? Something like 13% of teenagers aged roughly 13, 14 are getting sexually explicit messages on Instagram. And Mr. Zuckerberg didn't reply to the email or Mr. Bejar's concerns. And he's now telling the world, I think rightly, in front of the Senate in the US, look, these platforms, but this platform in particular, Instagram, needs to be supervised, and we need to look after our teenagers. And so, I mean, it's good that we now have a culture increasingly where whistleblowers, whether it's in a social media platform or any sort of company, are speaking up. We're now in a much more activist world, business world, where people are speaking up, and I think this is good, but it needs to be actioned.
Absolutely, and safeguarding children is all important.
Absolutely right.
Ladies, thank you so much. We've whizzed through the papers today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you in the studio. Thank you both for your thoughts.